So we are continuing our Chazorah. So the Nakud of the Maimah is, right, it's in the end to explain that the Dal of the Shoinus at once referred to the four Geulas of Yitzias Mitzrayim, and at the same time, the same Lashoinus referred to the final Geulas, the final Geula. Similar to, as you'll say in the end, the word emes appearing 4 times directly after the Shema, which is the last paragraph referring to Yitzias Mitzrayim, and then in Ezra Saveisenu again 4 times the word emes, the same words, which is going to come out that it's Geulas Mitzrayim and it's the final Geula, and notwithstanding the final Geula is far loftier. But what's the Nekuda? It's all Havaya, Havaya de Lasata, Havaya de Le'ela, the 4 Oisias, the 4 levels of Tshuva, on a conscious, manifested level, Atzilus, lofty, and so on, but still, in some sense, locked in the world of creation, which means a Tshuva that's based on my need. And then there's the Tshuva, the ultimate Tshuva, pre-Mashiach, as a preparation for the revelation of Havaya de Le'ela, where it's a Tshuva of what? Mitzad Rotzen. Why do I have to do Tshuva? Or rather, why is my Tshuva valuable? Why am I valuable? Because the Eibishter wants me, and wants my Tshuva, and wants to be part of me. So it's a whole different level of Tshuva, and it's all the 4 levels that the Maimah, that's the heart of the Maimah, is to deal with the 4 levels, explaining them. So we started to say already now in our review, Sur Meira, that's the first level, right? The Zoya, Teshuvah is essentially 2 words, Toshuv Hay, return, restore the Hay. Which Hay? The Hay of the Eibishter's name. There are 2 Hays, indeed, there are 2 levels of Tshuva, Tshuva Tato, Tshuva Ilah. So Tshuva Tato hinted to in the words Sur Meira Vasei Tov. It's practical, and it deals with fixing the Ra, Asei Tov, and doing mitzvahs. So in the middle of his Gimel, which we're up to in Al Chazorah, he says that already tells us that the Ra is, what is Ra? What's bad? What is the definition of bad? The definition of bad is to be separate, division. That's the essence of bad. So that happens obviously at a chet level. Avanisechem avdilim beinechem lebein elekeichem. Explained beautifully what elekeichem means. Elekim is usually midas hadin, but whenever we say elekeinu and elekeichem, we don't mean midas hadin, we mean midas harachamim. On the contrary. So why is it couched in elekim? Because it's the Eibishter, as he's invested in us, taka through the tzimtzum. But the point of the tzimtzum is not to hide himself, but on the contrary. The kavon of the tzimtzum is to be part of our lives in an intimate way, finite human beings. So it's a lekeinu. But when we do a chet, we violate that. We separate ourselves from the likus, that's from the Eibishter that's invested in us. God, a lekeinu. But it means one of the 7 Shemesh and Mchakim. It's referring to the Eibishter. But the Eibishter, as he's invested, as he is one with us. So he says that this Elikim, this separation, is many, many dargas, obviously, the lowest darga. Right? It identifies different levels of mechitza. There's a glass division that produces atzilus. Then there's a division of what? What are the next 2 metaphors he used? Like an animal, a hide, and then it doesn't give another one after that, but then there's even greater division. So the mechitz of the behemah, that's between kedusha and klippas noiga, and then there's the division between klippas noiga and gibur klippas atmeis, the utterly unclean klippas, when Yisrael la'amim. But the shorish of it all is expressed in the pasuk. in Hazinu, Machatzti Vani Arape. The simple meaning is, I have bruised and I will heal. But the Mechitze, Machatzti means I've divided. I made the division, says Eibishter, but I've given you the ability to heal. And that's the kavanah, is to heal all division, even at the loftiest level. Even the division of glass is still on the other side. You can see everything, and there's no distortion, and you see the truth, but you're on the other side of truth. You're looking at it. The kavanah is to be on the inside, without any separation at all. So that's the union of tshuva, and he says that it starts at the highest levels of man de machve v'mochu kodem malka, even a gesture in the presence of the king, not an outright rebellion, just a gesture, movement of the hands, and a meaningless gesture, not focused on the melech. Already there is the beginning of division. The various Mamar Razalim, Sukim Shemayim Lezochabein, Malachim Yosim Tehila, etc. So that's the old, let's say, the lowest level of the lowest level in all of its levels of Sur Mirah, from the lowest to the highest. Ra again meaning division. That's the first level of tshuva. So the first level of tshuva, in other words, is the person has to know that he must overcome the separation. That's the worst. That's the worst consequence of the sin. Is not the sin itself, but the separation that it causes. And that is the first thing that needs to be healed, has to be addressed. Then there's the second level of tshuva, which is asay tov. That's mitzvahs. And he says that sur mirah basically is we're describing it here, which is fixing chatoy and Mitzrayim balo kol almin. That's the intimate relationship that needs to be fixed. And then we have to connect on the deeper transcendent level. That's mitzvahs, sevev kol almin. Right, we're page Kuf Mem Ches now. No, he brought a very interesting gematria. What was the gematria? That what? Toiv is a gematria, Yud Zayin. What's Toiv got to do with this? Because Toiv is the level of Yesoid. That's the union of Sur Mirah affects Malchus. We're talking the first level is Machshav Dibur Ma'aseh, and it's a basic level. Now we're talking already connecting the Hey to the Vav. What's the Vav? The Vav is Yesoid, the last of the Sfiris, or being Mamshich, the Yesoid, meaning to say Mamshich higher, or relative to Malchus, it's Sevev Kol Almin. Kichol B'Shamayim V'Ba'aretz. That goes to Midas HaYesoid, L'Chashem Mamlocha is Malchus already. The next words. So Toiv is Yesoid. Tzadik ki Toiv. Tzadik is the union of Yesoid. Not about Tshuva, but Tzadik, mitzvah is positive. Not fixing, but maybe Mamshech Kedusha here. So that's the union of Tzadik, and the Tzadik is associated with Toiv. Moishe Beidim was born. Yisok ki Toivu. Toiv is Yesoid. Yosef HaTzadik is also called Tzadik, and Yosef's union is the union of Yesoid. That's where he's tested then, that air Indian. So the Gematria Yud Zayin. So what's the Gematria? There's a certain name, not a direct name, but there are names, shemis of the Eibush, which are not mamish of the 7 names, but the shemis nonetheless. And what is that? Brings it there. Fourth line. Huh? We said it's a shame. It's Rosh Tevis. It's a shame. Aleph, Hey, Vav, Hey is one of the shemis. Not Shenenim Chokim, but still one of the shemis, meaning one of the ways they wish to manifest. So what's Aleph, Hey, Vav, Hey? First of all, it's 17. And it's the Rosh Tevis of Es HaShamayim, Ves HaOretz, Ani Molei. Ani Molei, Sevev Kol Almin. Bottom line, the next level of tshuva, I say toiv, Yud Zayin, as a Shemayim v'azaretz ani mole, Aleph, Hey, Vav, Hey, is the Amshacha of Sebev Kalalmin of Alikus through mitzvahs. Yeah, clear? Then comes, as the pasuk continues, Bakisholim v'ratfeyu. It doesn't go into the pratim of, just from Kloli, Bakisholim means peace. And what's peace? Peace means peace between that which in their own worlds are fundamentally irreconcilable. Das Elyon and Das Tachten are two worlds. You can't be in both. Can't be in both. Das Tachten is this is reality, and Das Elyon is the Eibish's reality. So you can't have two contradictory realities. And yet, Torah makes peace between Das Elyon and Das Tachten, Pamal Yeshamayla, Pamal Yeshalmata, the heavenly academy and the earthly academy. Why? Because because Torah comes from a level that's higher than both, and therefore can make peace. Peace can only be made by Peace can only be achieved between opposites by drawing on a transcendent, essential level that is beyond the both, at once and at present in both. That's the end of Pnimius Atik, which is the Etzem. The Etzem is beyond manifestation, but it's present in every manifestation. In fact, the manifestation is nothing other than the manifestation of the essence. To use the example we bring all the time, the atom is beyond any particular pattern. It's the same atom in a gas, solid and liquid. It's beyond any tzir, and yet every tzir is nothing other than atoms. If you looked at an atom under a microscope, just seeing an atom, you wouldn't know what you're looking at. It could be anything, because it's beyond all tzir. The fact is, it's something, and that something is nothing other than those atoms. This thing of Etzem and Giluyim, right? A foundational principle, which we encounter all the time, obviously, because that's what we're talking about, in one guise or another. All to say that Torah is Inyan Atzmi, Atik, and therefore Torah is able to make shalom and make peace. What's the peace? The peace is that a human being with a finite mind and learning finite concepts, a Mishnah, a halacha, a story. In this halacha, is the Eibish's Chachma bli gvul. How does bli gvul? How are we able to grasp bli gvul? That's because it's the Shodesh, it's Anochi, and Anochi allows for a finite mind to grasp the bli gvulness of Torah, which is not lost even in its gvul manifestation. And again, that's Perikei and Tanya, really, to learn at its depth. That's what he's saying there. So this is the Bakei Sholem, V'ratfehu, Bakei Shoyz Torah. We're going beyond it. We started off with Sumirah, then mitzvahs, and now Limudat Torah. But Limudat Torah is also in two ways. Two levels of tshuva, just like the lower level of tshuva. Returning the hay means two things. Sumirah, that's the focus on the hay, and I say Torah is the focus on the vav, on mitzvahs, on yisoid. We clear? So to also with Limudat Torah, it's two fanim. Lamata l'mayla, mayla lamata, shtayim shein arba. Two general tshuvas, but they manifest in four ways, each one in two movements. Here too, there's two movements in Torah, and they are both of them still sholim. In both Eifanim, there's still this fusion of Gvul and Bligvul, of the mind, the person, fusing intimately with Bligvul, learning Torah and taking it in, taking the infinite in. But there's two Eifanim. What are the two Eifanim? Yeah. That's the way Torah is manifested in Bina, which is about learning. Because Bina is rooted in Atik. So even when you're learning, as a person is learning and his focus right now is learning and understanding. It doesn't get more gvul than that. Kashas and tirutzim and chidushim and arguments. Even in that oifan limud, with everything that you're learning as the Teres Emes, you're connecting to the bligvul of the Eibishter in that limud. The Eibishter's infinite wisdom and moreover his essential presence. The higher oifan limud is, that's that's the hay. Then to bring the yud to the hay is to learn with what? Chai and Yechidah and Mesiras Nefesh. These are the moments that Rebbe speaks of. The person has to stop learning for a moment and think, what is he learning here? This is nice and Torah. This is the Eibishter in front of him, learning and saying the words with him, moreover. So how does that manifest with that awareness? It manifests that his learning is not an ego trip, and he doesn't have to be right, and he learns with a great sense of awe and bittul. The more he learns, the more humble, not the more godly he becomes, the smaller it becomes. So then he says that Bina, Bechlal. Remember, these are look at the top of Kufman test, the last few lines of the Ois. Bina, manifested Bina, certainly Shoirish Bina, which is Atik, is all connected to what? To Geula. That's what we're trying to do here. It's obvious that Sumidan Aseito, if it doesn't, Sumidan is obvious, it's Geula. It's Chet, we're fixing it. Why is Limud Torah and Bina connected to Geula? Because Geula means a revelation of other course beyond creation. That's Bina. Bina is the eighth. How's Bina the eighth? Why is Bina the union of Shemini, and Shemini is Bligvul, 8 beyond creation, 7 days? Yeah, it's that one above, not including Das, which is the link in terms of Seichel, in terms of a property of Seichel. What you mean, Seichel is higher than the world. The world isn't driven by Seichel, my friends. The world is driven by emotion. The Seichel justifies it. The world is a subjective place. No objectivity naturally in the world. Midas, that's completely subjective. I feel, I want. Seichel, pure Seichel is objective, which is why with pure Seichel we can discover God. Just objective Seichel. So that's Bina. Bina is the union of Seichel, of higher than Welt. Shminis. So Geula is connected to Shmini, the 8th string, and so on. Shmini Atzeres, Hanukkah. Now, we just said there's 2 levels of Tshuva Ilah, the Hay. So that's Bina, which we just said is already union of Geula, and how much more so the Shodesh, which is we're bringing Bina to the Yud and then to Atik, how much more so that's the union of Geula beyond creation and bringing that into creation. Clear? Yeah. Okay, Ois Dalet. Let's do Ois Dalet. So this is beautiful that these 4 levels of Tshuva now correspond to the full ashenis of Geula. Veitzeisi, I will take you out. Veitzalti, I will save you. V'ga'alti, I will redeem you. V'lakachti, I will take you to me. The 4 levels in that order. Veitzeisi is sur mira because Pashat in translation, take you out of the clutches of evil. But moreover, he brings the pasuk that the whole pasuk. What does it say? Veitzeisi eschem. I'll take you out from under the burdens of Egypt. And sin is a burden. It weighs us down in a negative way. That's Veitzesi. That's the first level of Geula. Vitzalti, I will save you. This goes on what? Mitzvahs, I say toiv. What's the connection to Vitzalti, I will save you? Vitzalti, tzeil, shadow, and the shadow, but tzeil yodikis isicho, shadow's a makiv. And what's the makiv? That's the makiv, that's nimshech through mitzvah, that's a say toiv. Finally, ga'alti is bina, as we said before. That bina is shminis, bina. And finally, v'lakachti eschem lilam, I'll take you for me as a people. That's atik, that's etzem. How so? Because whenever it's Eibush, they use the word li, that's forever, unchangeable, immutable, that's only mitzad etzem. Moreover, V'lakachti eschem bilom is referring to Har Sinai, the marriage, becoming one at the essence level. So that's thinking of what? Of Pnimius Atik, which is the final level of tshuva. Okay, so to be continued, Be'ezer Hashem, the next time we learn, which we'll figure out.